$10 billion in pharma advertising just became a whole lot less effective. By the end of this year, someone in your category will lose 40% of their patient acquisition pipeline. The only question is whether it's you or your competitor. Your top performing campaign, the one that drives 60% of new patient starts, suddenly needs 45 seconds of risk disclosure in a 60-second spot. Your cost per acquisition triples overnight. Your board wants answers. Meanwhile, your competitor, who diversified their mix 6 months ago, swoops in and captures your market share while you're still rewriting copy and reshooting ads. And it isn't just TV commercials that are under the microscope. It's social, digital, influencers, and even online pharmacies. The refer to our website loophole you've leaned on, gone. Enforcement letters are already going out. If you think this is just a minor compliance tweak, you're already behind. Your agency will tell you they've got this covered. If that's true, ask them to show you their integrated attribution model across all 4 PESO model channels. Watch how quickly their confidence fades. And if it doesn't, then you don't need to listen to this podcast episode. But if it does fade, this is for you. On this week's Spin Sucks podcast, we'll talk about why this crackdown is a wake-up call, what it means for your pipeline and your boardroom conversations, and how a PESO strategy can keep you from being the CMO explaining losses while your competitor celebrates growth.
If you're a communications pro who works hard, doesn't compromise quality, and gets the job done, welcome home. We'll share our tips, tricks, and stories, and together we will change the face of PR. Spin sucks, but we don't. With the Spin Sucks podcast, here's Gini Dietrich.
Welcome back to the Spin Sucks podcast. I'm Gini Dietrich. Before we get started, I have a little tidbit for you. Did you know that if you can't finish watching right now, you can subscribe to the audio version of this show? We're on all the platforms where you get your podcasts, including Spotify and Apple. Or you can subscribe to our newsletter at spinsucks.com, and never miss an episode. Now back to our show. Direct-to-consumer has been a pharma crutch for decades. $10 billion in ad spend last year alone. $10 billion. Just like anything else, the risks compound when you rely too heavily on one lever. And I get it. I do. Paid media is so easy to measure, and the results can make or break a new product launch. But the US and New Zealand are the only countries that even allow it. Everywhere else, pharma companies have learned to thrive without glossy ads and fancy Super Bowl ads, which means some companies have a 20-year head start on perfecting the playbook you're about to need. When they compete with US brands globally, they often win. The threat isn't just regulatory fines. It's the moment you stand in front of your board and explain why patient starts are down double digits while your rivals are up. It's the investor call where margin pressure suddenly has your name on it. It's the Monday morning you realize the funnel you built on a single channel is gone. And if you don't move, you're not just losing pipeline. You're explaining to your board, your investors, and your CEO why your rivals are outpacing you on your watch. The beauty of the PESO model is that it was built for this exact kind of moment. When one channel falters, the others are already in place to absorb the shock. It's the operating advantage of an integrated system. And it's why the CMOs who've moved first will take market share while everyone else scrambles. If paid media suddenly becomes less persuasive or more expensive, the dollars don't vanish, they migrate. Instead of pumping money into 30-second TV spots that now spend half their time reading disclaimers, brands can redirect to precision targeting of healthcare providers, sponsorship of medical conferences, or placements in peer-reviewed journals. Those aren't just safer, they often generate 3 times the script lift compared to consumer ads. But paid is just one layer. Earned media picks up where paid leaves off. Clinical trial results, medical journal coverage, and credible commentary from key opinion leaders create authority that cannot be legislated away. A well-placed article in a respected outlet can drive 5 times more physician inquiries than a television campaign. And unlike ad spend, earned credibility compounds over time. Beyond media coverage, shared media provides the authenticity that advertising can't. Patient communities, advocacy groups, and caregiver networks often offer stories that resonate more deeply than any commercial ever could. According to the Edelman Trust Barometer, 92% of patients trust peer recommendations compared to just 14% who trust pharma advertising. When your story circulates in those circles, it's not an ad, it's a signal of trust. And you know who else likes those signals of trust? That's right, AI. Finally, there's the channel no regulator can touch, owned media. Patient portals, disease education hubs, and clinical resource centers aren't promotional gimmicks. They're transparent, educational platforms where patients spend real time. Educational content routinely delivers 10 times the engagement of traditional ad creative with the added benefit of building long-term trust. The point isn't to abandon paid media. Please don't do that. It's to stop pretending that paid can shoulder the whole load. PESO weaves the four channels together so that when policy, platform, or public opinion shifts, your strategy doesn't collapse with it. And thanks to today's multi-touch attribution technology, PESO isn't just a philosophy. It's a measurable, optimizable, scalable strategy. Brands with integrated PESO frameworks see 23% lower acquisition costs and 31% higher lifetime value. That's the kind of performance metric your CFO and your board actually cares about. Too many marketers treat regulation as a nuisance. Been there, done that. Smart CMOs recognize it as a stress test and an opportunity. Healthcare has already shifted from doctor knows best to participation where patients expect transparency and partnership. That means disclosure-heavy ads aren't just a compliance headache. They're a public litmus test. Does your brand look like it's reluctantly obeying the law, or does it look like it was built to be upfront all along? This difference isn't cosmetic. It's the difference between holding market share and explaining a double-digit drop in patient starts on your next earnings call, which I know no one wants to do. So here's where PESO creates an unfair advantage. Earned mentions in medical journals, authentic patient stories in shared communities, and comprehensive resources in owned channels all reinforce the credibility that disclosure alone can't carry. Instead of scrambling to defend your reputation, you walk into the boardroom with numbers that show transparency turned into trust and trust turned into pipeline. Your competitors who keep clinging to paid-first strategies will look defensive, retrofitting disclosures onto campaigns that no longer work. You'll look proactive, patient-first, and most importantly, like the only marketer in the room who anticipated what the market already demands. Okay, so we've talked about the expanding risk of channel dependence and the trust dividend. Now let's discuss some examples of PESO in motion and what kind of success you can have in the next 6 months should you embark on this now. We've already seen what happens when the old playbook collapses. During the COVID vaccine rollout, Pfizer and Moderna didn't build confidence with Super Bowl ads. They built it with medical spokespersons who became household names, with clinical data that hit headlines week after week, and with partnerships that gave their story credibility no commercial could buy. That was earned and shared, driving adoption when paid wasn't even an option. Look abroad, and the story is even more clear. In Europe, where direct-to-consumer advertising has been banned for decades, some pharma companies didn't just survive, they dominated. And when those European brands compete globally, they bring that advantage with them. Even here in the US, the split between adapters and laggards is obvious. When the government briefly required drug price disclosures in 2019, some companies froze. Campaigns stalled, media dollars wasted, pipelines disrupted. Others moved fast, bolstering owned channels with pricing explainers and leaning into earned media to frame the conversation. Guess which group ended the year with stronger trust scores and steadier patient acquisition? I'll give you 3 guesses, and the first 2 don't count. These are competitive realities. Every regulatory shift widens the gap between brands that treat PESO as insurance and those that wait until the fire is already burning. The brands that move first don't just survive the change. They seize the advantage their competitors handed them. The smart move isn't to wait until your quarterly numbers crater or until your board asks why patient starts are down double digits. By then, you're playing defense. The time to act is before enforcement turns into attrition. Start by auditing where your weight sits. For most pharma brands, the imbalance is glaring. Paid still eats the lion's share of budget, even as its effectiveness erodes under regulation and skepticism. That's not resilience, that's a liability. PESO gives you cover on two fronts. First, diversification. When one channel is kneecapped, the others are already carrying weight. And the second is foresight. Integrated measurement means you don't track just TV GRPs or digital impressions. You track how patients move from awareness to interest to perception to consideration to conversion across all four channels. Unlike single channel metrics, PESO gives you a full funnel view of what's working, what's stalling, and where to double down. And don't kid yourself that you have time. Enforcement has already started. By the end of this year, the market will have split into two groups. The brands that build PESO infrastructure early and look like they planned for this, and the brands that are scrambling to retrofit trust into campaigns that no longer work. The former will be taking your market share while you're still rewriting disclaimers. Complex? Of course, yes. But complexity is the moat around your castle. It's what separates the marketers the board trusts with growth from the ones they replace when the numbers slip. This new reality won't kill pharma marketing. It will, however, kill lazy pharma marketing. What survives and thrives are strategies built on multiple pillars. When paid stumbles, earned, shared, and owned keep the message moving. When commercials sound more like disclaimers than persuasion, transparency across channels becomes a competitive advantage. PESO has always been the smarter play. Now, it's the only play. The decision before you is timing. Adopt it proactively and lead, or wait until the market leaves you reacting. And if you think this won't show up in your board deck, think again. Activist investors and proxy advisors are already scrutinizing marketing ROI with sharper eyes than regulators. And make no mistake, your competitors are not waiting. Major pharma brands are shifting budgets, standing up earned media war rooms, and hiring shared media specialists. If pharma companies can implement this now, they'll have their PESO infrastructure in place by January and be taking market share by March. The question isn't whether you need PESO, it's whether you'll be fast enough to secure the talent and partners before your competitors lock them up. If you want to learn more about how to use PESO in a regulated industry like pharma, join us in the SpinSucks community. It's a great place to get advice, brainstorm ideas, and build real relationships. You can find us at spinsucks.com/spin-sucks-community. That's spinsucks.com/spin-sucks-community. And make sure you follow us on LinkedIn, TikTok, and Instagram. We're posting tips, how-tos, cheat sheets, and more every week. I'll see you next week.